Hey! Today we are gonna talk about something that a lot of you have been requesting me to. The Need for Speed games for the Nintendo DS. I know, you can stop cheering and screaming, I finally got to it. If you're new here, this is a series where we play what the community believes to be some of the worst Need for Speed games ever made. We already got through a lot of weird ports and... whatever Nitro was. But today we're gonna play every Need for Speed game released on the Nintendo DS. So, get yourself some popcorn and prepare your cringe face, because we are starting with Underground 2. Underground 1 wasn't made for the Nintendo DS, so we have to start with 2. So, I really didn't know what to expect from these ports. I always heard that the Most Wanted one was terrible, but I didn't hear much about the other games. The first thing you'll notice is that this one is based on the GBA version, or the GBA version was based on this one. Either way, they are pretty based. You can start with the 240SX or the Golf, so for the sake of everyone screaming the Golf is better, I'll pick the 240SX. The game works exactly like its GBA counterpart. If you weren't here for that video, I'll explain it again. Basically, instead of going race after race, you have different challenges that you can pick from. You have Circuit, which is your basic races with laps and stuff. On the Zone, which is like a time trial by sections. You have to do a better time in different sections of the race than your opponents. Drag, which is exactly what you think, but the gameplay isn't. And Bonus Event, which are minigames that you can play, just like in the GBA version. We start in Bayside and... holy crap, what are these controls? At first I was ready to throw up because of how quickly your car turns whenever you press left or right on the D-pad. But I gotta say, it does get better after you get used to it. I can't say it's good. If anything, I still think it gets way too sensitive, way too quick. But it isn't that bad. I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but I still think the GBA version did it better. Graphics are actually pretty good, but keep in mind I never had a DS when I was a kid and I have little to no experience with it. The only game I played for comparison is New Super Mario Bros. DS. Obviously, this one does look better than the GBA version. And again, this is way closer to that version than the PS2 one. I did notice some lack of attention in some points, or maybe it's just a way to make the game run better by removing unnecessary things, like these barriers that you can only see through one side, but it's definitely noticeable. Of course, you also have customization, and it's basically the same as the GBA version, but there are some weird quirks with it. Like when choosing a body kit, you can only see the front of your car, but besides that, it's actually pretty nice to see how much they shoved into these games. Like the spoilers and the hoods and the wheels, all from the main version of the game. It's actually pretty cool. You can also draw your own vinyl for the car. It sucks that you can't move it around, so it's always at your car's door, but hey, I can't be mad when they let me promote my channel with it. The music is... okay. Same as the GBA version, which means no real songs, just some tunes. Again, I think they got my expectations way too high after Underground on the GBA having actual songs in it, but it would be cool to see it again here. I think that overall, this is a good version of the game, but honestly I think I prefer the GBA version over it. I know that might be crazy to hear, but the gameplay in this one just isn't the best, and I really prioritize gameplay over graphics. If that's what matters to you, just go with this one. It can be beautiful at times, especially later on when you have your car customized. You know, since I started talking about Need for Speed on the channel, people always made jokes about Most Wanted on the DS. I even got some fan art for it. Thank you, Luca. Oh, also, if you have any fan art, make sure you post it on our Discord. I might start making a section for them in the videos. But anyway, Most Wanted on the DS, right? Can it really be that bad? How? Underground 2 was not bad, so what's wrong with it? The game has a cutscene of a real BMW M3, which I thought was pretty cool. The music is sadly the same as in the GBA version, which means it's really not good. You can start this one with the Cobalt, the Golf, or the IS300. The game even lets you make a profile icon with your own customized signature, which is cool. The game also does have a blacklist. You start in the
number 15 guy on the blacklist,
which for some reason is Taz, but sure. Wait, he's from Hong Kong? We finally get into the game and... oh no. Oh no, this isn't happening. There's just so much wrong here. What the hell is this? What is happening? What are these graphics? What is this music? Didn't I pick the Golf? Oh no, there's no way. Where do I even start here? So, the graphics. What the actual fuck? These are some of the worst car models I have ever seen in my life. No matter which car you pick, they look horrendous. This is what the game would look like if you asked me to make cars for this game. Weirdly enough, the only good looking things are the badges you see on the cars. They are pretty high quality for the DS, but why? Why do you need these to look this good when you didn't finish the car itself? They looked like a blurry mess in Underground 2, and it looks light years ahead of this. And the worst part, they actually have better car models on the menus. So why not use those? Why use these extremely low quality version of the cars? And the gameplay. Oh god. If you thought the Underground 2 version has sensitive controls, this one is unbelievable. You can barely touch the D-pad before the car instantly flies in the direction you pressed. The good part is that you'll never have a problem with understeer, because you'll be doing donuts at 60 miles per hour. No matter how bad you think the controls are in this one, I promise you, it's worse. They also added cops to this game, which, surprise surprise, are not very good. No, that's an understatement. They are really shit. They just appear in the race so you can be like, oh, so there are cops in this game. And that's it. There are some races where they drop spikes in the road and look how amazing it is when you get caught by it. If you're not happy with that, they also have races where you have to avoid cops making barriers on the roads. This is how bad the controls are. You have this huge gap to go through, and the challenge is not to hit the cops around it. And when you hit it, guess what happens? Yeah, I swear, there is nothing redeemable about this game. Absolutely nothing. I usually try my best to find something good about the things I play. Sometimes I actually have fun with things I thought would suck, but this is unbelievable. Do yourself a favor and stay as far away as possible from this game. It doesn't deserve your attention, even if just for the meme of it existing. Oh yeah, and GameSpot gave it a 5.3, saying the game has sharp car models. Yeah, sharp is definitely a way to put it. After the last game, it was pretty hard to expect anything good to come out from the DS. Wait, what? Okay, forget everything I said. Screw Underground 2 and screw Most Wanted. This has actual music. Not only 1 or 2 tracks, but full 8 songs from the main game. Yeah, I mean, it's not every song, but the quality is not bad and it makes the experience just that much better. Getting to the game, you'll notice that the car models are still pretty bad. Not as bad as in Most Wanted. I actually compared the Cobalt from the 2 version and this one is better than whatever that was. But still not great car models. Thankfully, because Pro Street didn't have too much stuff in its levels, like buildings and stuff, they made the render distance way bigger than it was before. So you can see things much further than you could. Levels actually look pretty nice most of the time and really close to what you see in the main version of the game. Customization is back, and it even has some of the body kits you see in Carbon and Pro Street, which is cool. Though you can't make your own vinyl anymore, and the ones that you can put in your car are not really attached to it, so you can see them floating by the side of your car during races. The gameplay though, holy crap, this is actually good. For the most part. It actually starts great. This was the first game that I actually wanted to keep playing more and more. You can hold up on the D-pad and push to the sides to do small turns and hold down for hard turns. It helps immensely with the gameplay and it fixes the problem of not having analog sticks. But like I said, it's for the most part. After you played the game for longer, you start noticing that it seems like they perfected the early gameplay, but the deeper you get, the worse the controls get. I first noticed this when I upgraded the Golf and reached max speed. After reaching, the car wouldn't stop doing this, like it suffers from Parkinson or something. So, because I wasn't going to finish the whole game, which actually seems to be pretty big, I cheated to get the last cars in the game. And let me tell you, that's where the game completely breaks. Cars cannot stay on the road. They randomly turn to the sides whenever they feel like, and you'll be constantly fighting just to stay on track. They were so close to master the gameplay in this game, so it really sucks that it gets this bad after a while. But really, the early gameplay is extremely satisfying, like impressively satisfying. There's also a new game mode in this one, which was pretty funny. It's a rhythm game, where you have to press buttons when they get to the middle, and it can actually be pretty fun. Drift races are also back and it does feel a bit off, but they work. So far, this is easily the best of the bunch, especially in the beginning of the game. It has a very satisfying gameplay, a lot of view to unlock, and it seems like it would take a long time to beat. If you can get this one for cheap, I'd say give it a try. Might be your new favorite Need for Speed for the DS. So, already not my favorite Need for Speed game, but I was honestly open to whatever this game could give me. Surprisingly, the game starts with a getaway type of race where you have to avoid the cops and get to your safe house, meaning this is actually an open world game. Kind of. You can go wherever you want in the map with your objective being pointed to you by a red arrow. And already you can see that the car models got way better. Well, for the most part. It really seems like there's always a huge downside to every Need for Speed game in the DS, doesn't it? In this case, yes, the car models look really good. But only where there's only you on the screen. The more cars that show up, the more low poly the cars get. To the point where they become whatever this is. Not that big of a deal though, because most of the time in this game you only see yourself. You know, I was really hoping they kept the gameplay from the last game, but sadly they didn't. The small and hard turns were completely deleted for your basic left and rights again, which actually works just fine in this game, because most of it is just really long highways or turns in very big roads, leaving a big margin for error. It works fine for the map they made, and the gameplay is fine for the way the races are. The problem I have with this one is that it becomes boring very quickly. There's no traffic during races. You're always ahead of your opponents, and they only pass you for the rubber band to throw them back again. I mean, we all know how rubber banding in Need for Speed games can be insane, but have you ever seen someone reach the speed of light like this? And all that just to wait for you in the finish line. It always feels like there's nothing at stake because you always win. Another side of this game is the cops, and well, it's not good. You have the getaway races where you have to outrun the cops, or cop, because there's always only one, and another mode called Cost to State, where you have to destroy as much as you can of the city before the time runs out. This usually means doing this for 2 minutes straight. Sounds fun? Exactly. The soundtrack includes some of the songs from the main version of the game, but it's a very weird pick of songs if you ask me. Obviously I can't play any of the songs here, so I advise you to take a listen for yourself while watching this footage and see what I mean. It really doesn't fit the game very well. At least the game seems to follow the story of the original pretty closely, so if you enjoyed that story, you can enjoy it here with a few frames and a lot of text that you can read. Overall, not a real fan of this one. It's fine for what it is, but it gets way too boring to keep me wanting to play for more than half an hour, which I did, but only for the sake of this video. Now, you might be asking yourself, that's weird, why did he put carbon after undercover? And the reason for that is actually pretty simple. I forgot. Well, actually I couldn't find this game, so I thought it didn't exist and I just ignored it because it would be understandable if they skipped it after whatever Most Wanted was. And you know what? Forget everything I said about Pro Street, because holy hell, this was the first one to do it right. It has actual music like I was expecting before, containing multiple songs from the main version, which is still pretty awesome. Of course though, this is Carbon on the City, so it doesn't follow the story of the original game, but it does its own thing. I did my best not to get spoiled because everyone said the PSP is the better version of this game, and so I'll save it for that review. One weird thing is that this game is extremely blurry for some reason. I tried upscaling the game up to 4K and still, the game is very blocky and blurry, like they threw a filter on top of it. Even still though, you can tell that the cars look way better than what they did in Most Wanted. But it seems like they also looked better than in Pro Street, so I really don't know what happened there. For the gameplay again, it did the controls from Pro Street before Pro Street, so hold up for small turns and down for hard turns. Very useful stuff. I still think Pro Street plays better in the beginning, but this game is overall pretty good. Meaning I can't possibly recommend Pro Street over this one, because it's like a ticking bomb, while this one is very good from start to finish. You get probably the most customization of the DS games. It has everything you saw before, plus the addition of being able to customize your HUD in different ways. Even put little toys in it. Cool. This is probably my favorite so far, but I gotta really hammer this into your brain. The amount of blurriness in this game was legitimately giving me headaches. It is really bad when you're playing it. This is the best one, and the one you should pick up if you wanna play a Need for Speed game on the DS. Weirdo. And yeah, I guess that's it. What? I'm missing one? Oh no. Oh please no. Oh, don't make me. This one wasn't that bad. I mean, it's bad, don't get me wrong, but not as I was expecting. The game is, of course, the handheld port of Need for Speed Nitro, an exclusive Need for Speed game for the Wii, which I already covered here. It starts with a tutorial which explains the new mechanic from this game, the HDS, or Heroic Driving System. If you watched my video on the run for the Wii, you already know what this is. It is basically whatever they think looks cool in the press of a button. So, for example, you are tailgating an opponent, and when the meter goes up, you can press X and your car will flip and jump ahead of him. Or here, you can cross the bridge normally like a nerd. Or you can press X to do a heroic stunt and drift through the side of it to get to the other side. Safe to say, this is what a 10-year-old think it's cool for cars to do. Flips and drive on the walls. If you're over the age of 12, you can probably crack a laugh out of it while playing this one. The gameplay though, it's like 10 step backs from the last game, but still you can get used to it after a while. The cars are extremely sensitive and you can press L to drift, but just like in the Wii version, you are put into rails and control the drift using left and right. It does have the same charismatic look from the Wii game. So if you like the art style from that one, you will probably like this one. Especially because you can make your own tag and paint the city with it, which is pretty cool. You can go around the world painting entire continents with whatever you like. It's not as good as any of the other Need for Speed games on the DS, and certainly not as bad as Most Wanted, so maybe if you liked Nitro on the Wii, this should be the game for you to pick up. Overall, I think the games I enjoyed the most were Carbon and Pro Street. Even though Pro Street led me down the later parts of the game, and Carbon made me understand what it feels like to have the eyesight of an elderly person, I actually enjoyed my time with them, which is way more than I expected for any handheld Need for Speed games. So maybe I also have something to look forward with the PSP ports. But anyway, I think that's it for this one. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like. It really helps me a lot. And as always, a huge thank you for our new members, Pixel Pusha and Guto Magi. Being a member is really the best way you can support the channel right now, so really, thank you so much. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.